A Million Miles Away. It stars Michael Pena and Rosa Salazar and Garrett Dillahunt. And it's available currently on Amazon Prime Video. So if you're a Prime subscriber, this is a Prime title that's available to you. You don't have to rent it. It's just there. It's based on the true story of a migrant farmer who ends up becoming an astronaut. So, kind of the perfect story for 2023 when we're constantly yelling at the people trying to come across the border. It's like, well, one of those people became an astronaut, so maybe we should take a second look at our get the hell out of here policy. So yeah, Amazon has decided to make a film that obviously is raising the middle finger to all those people who want to keep building a wall, and I like that. It's fine. I was like, I didn't know that I wanted to watch this film because honestly, I don't know why, but Amazon has this labeled as faith-based, and it's not. So don't let that discourage you. It's a family-friendly biopic. It's like Dennis Quaid in The Rookie. It's just not a sports movie, but it's accessible for anybody. Flamin' Hot was accessible for everybody. It's one of those. That's all it is. But no, they don't constantly go to church. He doesn't reckon with his spirituality at any point in this film. I don't know why this is labeled as faith. So, very weird. Very weird choice to put that as one of the categories in this film. I was like, is this a thing? All right. Do they ever go to church? Sure. There's a funeral in one. But it doesn't mean that the film is faith-based. Anyway, so yeah. Michael Pena plays the main character, Juan, who we see grow up as a little boy. Actually, for a while, he's a little boy. And we see him, and he has dreams. He looks up at the stars, and he's like, why are there stars? What's up there? And he's very inquisitive. And his teacher likes that about him. And his teacher also recognizes that he's the son of migrant farmers, and they keep moving around a lot, and she tries to get his parents to stay. And there's one scene here that didn't really work for me. It's a scene where the teacher's translating and having the son translate to the parents, and the son doesn't fully translate everything that she's saying, right? He's trying to translate things also in his favor, and he's probably about 8, I'm going to guess, around this time. And he's translating to his mom and his dad. And then about halfway through the scene, the conversation anyway, the dad just stands up and just starts talking in full on English. It's not very broken. It's not like he's struggling. It's like his secret superpower this whole time has been that he's been hiding the fact that he speaks perfect English. And I think I broke my television because it was the dumbest fucking scene ever. I was like, are you telling me that kid has grown up with his dad for 8 years and has never heard him speak a word of English? Are you telling me that this scene is terrible? This is the dumbest scene because I know why it's here, because it's supposed to make people go, oh shit. But do you realize why you're going, oh shit? Because it's so improbable. It's so improbable that guy hid the fact that he speaks English from his son the entire time that his son has existed as a human being. His son thinks that he can get away with because his son, otherwise, if his son knew that his father spoke English, then he would translate exactly what the teacher is saying. If they were playing some sort of weird ruse on the teacher, like, oh yes, my parents don't want my teacher to know that they speak English. They just want to act clueless. Let's say that was the game. Then he would translate it perfectly, because what's the point? The teacher doesn't understand the kid. So he's obviously translating it for his parents. So it is the dumbest scene of like I've seen in weeks. In weeks, I've seen, and the funny thing is the rest of the film's not bad, but that scene I was like, why is this scene here? Like, this scene is so asinine. Anyway, so we once we move past that, the film is fine. He grows up, he learns about migrant farmers. There's sort of a really poignant scene where, I think his dad knows his son's a dreamer, so he drives him past a migrant farm and points and says, "You see that? That's your future." He's like, son's like, "No, I don't want that to be my future. What the hell? I'm getting good grades. I don't want to do that." And of course, he ends up not doing that. He ends up becoming an engineer. We see him working for a private company before he works for NASA, where he excels. Of course, they think he's the janitor because he's Latino. And lots of, just casual racism being thrown around in here. But he has a dream of one day working for NASA, one day being able to be an astronaut and possibly go to space. So he just keeps pursuing his dream. He keeps applying to NASA. And he, along the way, meets and marries Rosa Salazar's character. They start a family together. And obviously, this is based on a true story. So eventually NASA's going to say yes. And eventually he's going to start training as an astronaut. Eventually he's going to go to space. Otherwise, why are we making this film? None of those things should be spoilers to you. Could you imagine how disappointing this would be if this was based on a true story of somebody who never made, who just dreamt of NASA, but, never made it there and just, I don't know, did something else, started working at McDonald's? Why is this a film? This isn't inspirational. Why didn't somebody write a book about it? Anyway, so yeah, it's based on a real person, so they do use real footage at the end. They do that thing where they compare and show you, who, and look, it's Michael Pena. Oh, it's the real guy. Look at that. You see how similar they are in nature? And they tell you a little bit about him and what he's up to now, and since being in space and writing the book, and it all just kind of wraps up nicely. But it's got that one scene that just annoys the ever-loving shit out of me. Just absolutely, it's come on, stop assuming that audiences are dumb. Just please, can we move past that? There's some other scenes in here that don't really work for me. NASA moves the family into a house that has no water. I don't quite get that. But when they move into town, all right. I mean, maybe that's maybe that happens. I'll give that one. I'll give that one a pass. That one's we'll pass on that. I'll give that one a pass, but the other one doesn't make any sense. So Michael Pena does a good job here. It's not going to win him any Oscars. This film is too light, too fluffy, and doesn't want to hit hard. It's not really interested in exploring deep emotions. It explores surface emotions. Somebody close to him dies, and we just kind of go to the funeral and listen to a little girl sing, and he's upset, and he knows that that this is why he got out, but that person couldn't get out, and the neighborhood was dangerous, and we could go more into that, but we don't really. And even after that scene, he just kind of goes back to NASA. It's like, I'm back. What's up? How's the funeral? Oh, well, we don't need to keep talking about that. We already used that as a plot device. We're just going to keep moving forward. So, it's just a really safe film. It's a little bit like Flamin' Hot was. It doesn't really excite me or blow my mind, but it is pretty safe, and it's done moderately well. So, and it has audio description. So look at that. That's and the audio description translates the rather large amount of Spanish that's spoken in this film, um, especially towards the beginning of the film when he's sort of immersed in a lot more of his own culture and people than he is when he goes to NASA, and then he's, you know, all alone, and is a standout, and then like the other person of color is like, it's really important for us to be here. And it's like, yes, it is. I agree. And I know that's why we made this film, is so that kids can see, hey, look at the true story of this guy that made it up there. And if he can make it, then you can make it. Anybody can dream big. I totally understand all the reasons to watch this film, but it's just not perfectly. It doesn't land perfect. It's a little clunky in parts. Couple choices made that I wouldn't have made. Rosa Salazar is great, and then hard to relate to, and then great. She just has some scenes where, for some reason, this film likes to throw Michael Pena up against people who are like, you're being selfish for wanting your dreams. And even, I was a little disappointed when even his wife has those moments. And, yeah. So, but then like at the end, of course, she gets to celebrate like she was supportive of him all along. It's like, no, you weren't. I saw those scenes. So, it could have been done a little bit better. I'm not gonna lie. Could have been. So, but the audio description does a good job. He doesn't spend that long in space. So the big fancy stuff at the end it's at the end of the film, and it just kind of like, he gets to space and the film ends. It's like, welcome to space, and done. So, yeah, it's just mostly translation of Spanish is where it really helps out the most. And even though the film is kind of starts out kind of in the 80s, doesn't really ever feel like period piece. So it's a pretty simple audio description. Anyway, I'm gonna give A Million Miles Away a B-. It's all right. It's fine. It works, and I think for a lot of people, they need to see a movie like this. There's a couple choices I just wouldn't have made. That's it. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hopefully you can click subscribe and validate me. And it's like validating parking. And I do have a website, MacTheMovieGuy.com. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, or Threads at MacTheMovieGuy. You can go to the audio description project, adp.acb.org. It'll let you know what is audio description, where you can watch it. And you can go to the ADNA.org. That's the ADNA.org. It'll let you know who is narrating your favorite film's television series. That's it. I will review something else and see you guys on the other side.